Welcome back to the Injury Podcast, boys and girls, ladies and germs. Today, we've got a great show, some great guests on with us today. We've spoken before on the Injury Podcast about how an injury can affect us physically, how it can affect us emotionally, mentally, how an injury can affect us even spiritually. Today, we're going to dive into how an injury can affect us from a financial standpoint, how it can upend our life, how we're going to pay for our medical bills, what are we going to be able to do about our job? Are we going to lose our house? So all these different things that can happen as a result of an injury. But before we start, I'm going to introduce our guest today. Today we have with us Jen Nestler from Windsor MRI, and she's here. She's done a lot of work in the community for breast cancer awareness is one of the events which she's hosting next week, and I am wearing pink.
Yes.
to show my support for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October. So, how does it feel? This is your first podcast,
This
right?
is my very first podcast. And I must say, I feel so excited, a little nervous. Thank you so much for having me on
Awesome. And it was
as a host with you.
Yeah, and it was easy getting here and everything like that
It
to the studio.
was.
Great.
Yes.
Awesome. Great. And we have also today an expert. He is an attorney from Boynton Beach, Florida. None other than the Michael Fischetti.
Hey,
Nice.
Dr. Craig, thanks for having me on. Beautiful studio. Jen, always so nice to see you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Yes.
So let's jump into a couple of things. One, let's give a little bit of information to the viewers about who you are, why you became an attorney. Been practicing for a long time. I know you do insurance law, and you also help people that have been injured in auto accidents. So tell us a little bit about why you became an attorney.
Ooh, well, I've been an attorney practicing here in South Florida since 2004. I have probably handled in excess of 20,000 car accident cases. When I was younger, I did some criminal defense work, but then got over to the civil side. Early on, I was always involved in my community, always really liked helping people. And I was always asking myself, what can I do that's going to fulfill me in life? What's going to be a good career? And what can I do to help people with their lives? My parents got divorced when I was very young, and unfortunately, it was a long legal battle, but I saw the role that attorneys played, and I said, I can be part of that, and I can have a positive effect on people. So, after doing the criminal defense thing, I came out, had a great opportunity to work doing some insurance work and representing doctors, which I still do, but I also started to learn personal injury, car accidents, slip and falls, negligent security. And I found that it was really my niche because when you see somebody walk in the door after an accident, there's a piece of them that's not just broken physically, but their life is in shambles. They may not have a car that works. They may not know how to get their kids to school, jobs in jeopardy. And then on top of that, how are they going to support themselves while they're trying to heal, get better? What if their injuries need future treatment? And in the midst of it, you have an insurance company that's not really looking out for their best interest. So that's where I come into play. And I am basically the defender against multi-billion-dollar insurance companies really trying to take advantage of people. And along the way, I've worked with amazing professionals, from doctors to diagnostic centers like Windsor MRI. Jen is a personal favorite of mine. She's fantastic.
Thank you.
And, Doctor, I've worked with you more times than I can count. And at the end of the day, it's so fulfilling watching people, when they're done with their case, basically rebuild their lives. So that is the thing that kind of got me into being a lawyer and keeps me getting up and at the office every day at 4:30.
Okay, great. Thank you. And let's unpack a few things about when somebody gets into an accident in the state of, and this goes for the state of Florida. We're doing the podcast in Florida. If somebody gets into an auto accident, who pays the bills? Is it their health insurance? Is it Medicare? How does that work? Can you explain that?
That's a great question because there's a lot of different factors that go into play depending on everybody's situation. So I'll break it down first and foremost. Florida is a no-fault state. So in the state of Florida, we have what's called PIP, Personal Injury Protection. And what that does is that covers three things. It covers your first $10,000 in medical bills. It can cover up to 60% of your lost wages. And unfortunately, if there happens to be a death involved, it will get a death benefit of $5,000. Now, most people hear this term, but they have no idea what it is. But everyone who has a registered motor vehicle here in the state of Florida has to have that insurance. You cannot register your car without it. And typically it will cover you and the members in your household. So that's kind of the first line of defense. After that, people may have special insurance that is an add-on called uninsured motorist coverage, which will protect them further if the person that hits them doesn't have the right coverage, okay? If someone has health insurance coverage, that will come into play, but a lot of times we're really dealing with that PIP and that other insurance that either the other side has, which is called bodily injury. It gets a little complicated, which is why it's super important to contact an attorney as soon as possible, because we're going to be able to sort that out. We're going to be able to make sure that the right insurance is used at the right time, and at the same time putting a protective bubble around you from an insurance company that may want you to sign your rights away really quick.
Right. And that goes into that insurance coverage, the personal injury protection for the state of Florida, that would cover you even if you're at fault. Even if you caused the accident and you hit someone else, people need to know that they can still get treatment for those injuries,
So
regardless of who's at fault.
yeah, so historically, one of the few things our legislature has gotten right was the implementation of PIP so that people could get their medical bills paid swiftly and promptly, regardless of fault. A lot of people will come to me and say, well, this is crazy. I need to go through my own insurance, even though the guy rear-ended me. What they don't know is on the back end, their insurance company will seek recovery from the at-fault party. But at the same time, if an accident was unfortunately your fault, you're still covered under the PIP, which is fantastic because, as you know, here in South Florida, a lot of people don't have health insurance. So that PIP is really their only avenue of getting medical treatment. And there's no real limitations on what medical treatment people can seek. They can go see a chiropractor. They can get the diagnostic studies that they need. They can see an orthopedic. They could see even a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So there's a lot of wide range of treatment that they can get with that PIP coverage.
I had a patient one time that they had a dental work that became loose and they went to their dentist. I don't know for sure if the dentist filed a claim under that, but if the patient paid for it, they might be able to get reimbursed on that insurance, right?
Absolutely. Dentists are totally covered under PIP. The one avenue that we run into with PIP sometimes is the way everybody runs into problems with insurance. An insurance company will try to find any reason not to pay a claim. And that's the other half of what I do in my office is I represent medical providers and litigate against the insurance companies to make sure that our doctors and our medical providers are getting paid for the services that they render. But PIP is just such a great, great vehicle to get people medical treatment. I just wish that it kept up with inflation because it was put into play in the early 70s. And as you know, $10,000 in the early 70s doesn't go very far now.
Yeah. And it's not always so straightforward. So even if you didn't, let's say you were riding a bicycle,
Sure.
and you don't have a car, and somebody hit you, even if you don't have insurance, you might still be able to get covered for those medical bills if you wind up in the hospital, God forbid, from that PIP, right?
Yep, that's absolutely correct. Again, it was really designed to be very inclusive. So it really goes to the maintenance and use of an automobile. I'll give you another story. Years ago, I had a young lady who was sitting on a bus stop and a vehicle ran a red light, smashed into another vehicle, and then careened into that bus stop, right? Young lady was thrust off the bench and broke her wrist. Fortunately, mom had no health insurance, didn't own a car, and they were still able to get her covered under the PIP because the daughter lived with a family member who did have PIP. So that's how inclusive it's designed to be.
That's great. Okay. So why don't you also work with people that have been injured in car accidents as well?
Yep.
Why don't you run through from somebody coming into your office as someone that was hit by another vehicle in their car, and they come in as a client. Take us from the beginning to the resolution of how typically it works, so you can give our listeners and our viewers a sense of the process, because they might not understand how it works.
Yeah, that's a really great question, because most people don't get into car accidents, which is a good thing. And when they do, it's such a foreign thing to them that they're really lost. So if I have a client who comes into my office and they were driving, we'll say, for example, they got rear-ended. The first thing that we want to do is gather their insurance information and the person who rear-ended them to make a claim on both sides, right? We're going to want to make a PIP claim with their own insurance, because that's how the law works. And then we're going to make a claim with the car that hit them. The next step is we're going to want to make sure, is their car repairable? Because if somebody doesn't have a car, nowadays, it really upends their life. How do they go grocery shopping? How do they get their kids to school? How do they get to work? So we'll immediately start working on getting that car fixed, haggling with the insurance company, because they'll try to lowball them on the vehicle damage and try to drag it out. But we'll push forward to that. At the same time, we're getting those people medical care if they haven't already sought medical care. And here's a really important thing that I need all of your listeners to know. It's critical that they seek medical care as soon as they can after an accident, because in the state of Florida, there's actually a law that says if you do not seek medical care within 14 days, you lose your PIP benefits. That doesn't necessarily mean that the only place you can go is a hospital. You can go to an urgent care, which is more than well equipped for most automobile accidents. They can diagnose you, they can triage you, they can x-ray you, they can decide if you have a severe concussion. And if you have any major issues, you better believe they're going to transport you to the hospital. But if they have those issues that may be able to wait for you to be able to see a specialist, a chiropractor, an orthopedic, they're going to be able to tell you what to do there. So back to that person that comes into my office, we're going to make sure that we've got those claims opened up, that we're aggressively pushing those claims forward, and at the same time, we're getting them the treatment that they need with a specialist that handles automobile accidents. There are amazing doctors in the state of Florida. Not all of them specialize in automobile accidents. There are volumes and volumes and volumes of literature, readings, and studies and testing that are unique to the mechanisms of an automobile accident. You're not going to treat a rear-end automobile accident the same way you're going to treat a slip and fall.
Right. Let's get into a little bit about the treatment part of the case that you work with. What are some of the things that you see that are great that one of your clients does? And what are some of the things you see that really can be a negative to the case from a medical treatment standpoint?
Sure. I'm very lucky to have spent the last 20 years working with the best in South Florida. And in fact, my brother was a chiropractor, so I have that inside knowledge for that. The best thing that I've seen people do is getting care early, starting with that conservative care to diagnose, give the body a chance to heal, making sure they're working with a doctor who's going to get them the diagnostic studies they need, and that's not afraid to refer them to another specialist, whether it be an orthopedic or somebody that can focus on traumatic brain injury. The easy answer to what's the worst thing people can do when it comes to medical treatment, not being consistent in treatment. It's like the gym.
Right. Yeah.
You really
true.
want to get in shape, but if you go once a month, it's not going to happen. And as you know full well, your body needs consistency to heal. And with my clients, I always tell them that's the most important thing they do. Follow their treatment regime. Don't miss appointments. They will thank themselves down the road 1,000 times over. Most people that come to me that are seeing me for a second accident, that I didn't work with them on the first accident, that's the number one thing they wish they did, is that they took their treatment more seriously in the beginning for the first accident.
Right. One of the things I've seen in my experience is that sometimes patients will treat in either my office or they'll treat with colleagues I know for a period of time, and then they stop treating. And if they don't have documentation on how their injury is getting either better or worse, what things affect it? Do they have pain after 10 minutes of sitting? Can they not bring their arm above their chest? Sure. So I usually recommend patients do a pain diary. Every day or every few days, they document, how am I feeling today? How's my neck feeling? Would I rate it a scale of 1 to 10? My back, what are some things that I'm having difficulty doing today? Did I have a flare-up? I lifted a glass and put it into the cabinet. Oh, my neck now hurts. So that's a good thing to write down because it gives us more information, accurate information, especially if you're not treating regularly and you're not able to get to either chiropractor, physical therapy, or to the other doctors you're supposed to go to. Now, it's not advocating not to treat, sure, but sometimes people get busy and they might miss a few weeks of treatment. And even if they don't miss treatment, it's a good practice to do to document how the injury is affecting them and to give the doctors, the people treating you and your attorney, information about the injury, which is going to help you in the long run. And you might not understand how it's going to help you, but believe me, it's going to make a difference.
And I can really speak on that. I've tried in excess of 60 cases, and I can tell you that the insurance companies love to go through medical records bit by bit, line by line. Yep. And when you are getting to trial a year, 18 months down the road post-accident, that pain diary is going to be critical because I can introduce that as evidence. And I'll just give you a quick example. I've had a client who's been treating for a little over a year. It was a pretty significant accident, and they went on vacation. And they said that their neck was worse than it ever was before because they were going to different hotels and using different pillows. Mm. So now here we are in the negotiation phase, and they had finished up their treatment and we're a month into negotiations, and that's a new piece of evidence I have to bring to the adjuster and say, look, just because they've wrapped up their treatment and they finalized their treatment, they're still being affected to this day. Here's why. And if a jury sees that somebody is writing it down all along, let me tell you, that's going to give a lot of credibility to that witness.
Right. And it's important for the providers that are seeing the patient to have that information and for you to be vocal and your own advocate when you go to your chiropractor, physical therapist, orthopedist, whoever you might go. I also recommend my patients write down questions they have before they go to the doctor, because I know, as being a patient myself, that sometimes you get into a doctor, you're waiting in the waiting room for a while, you get to see a specialist, and you forget to ask what you were going to ask. You forget to mention, hey, doc, I have pain when I bend this way or move to the left. So that's important for you to note down and give that information to the providers that you're seeing. The other thing that I think is essential is that we make sure that we get, if medically necessary, we get the appropriate testing for that patient, which in a lot of the work I see, MRIs, which will help visualize soft tissue structures that normal X-ray doesn't show, is very, very important. And it's going to be important for whether they're having a brain MRI, whether they're having a spinal MRI of the neck, of the back. So that's a real crucial part in the patient's care, is the diagnostic testing. So, and we have somebody with us today, right, yeah. Jen Nestler from Windsor Imaging. Hi. That they have multiple centers in South Florida. They do a great job. Sometimes patients are afraid to get an MRI because they're claustrophobic.
They are, right? Well, our MRIs, we are claustrophobic friendly. So we're an open bore MRI. And we're listen, if we get a patient that comes in and they tell us, listen, I never got an MRI, I'm scared, we just kind of like walk them through. Our technician, Cressida, she's so sweet. And we're like, look, just imagine that you're in bed, you're laying down straight, and there's like kind of like a halo over you. And you have space, you can move around, and this is an open MRI. So that's what we kind of try to do. And we'll play like their favorite little music, try to calm them down. And yeah, so
Important.
If you guys need an MRI, think about Windsor Imaging. We do have the 3 locations. We're in Delray, Fort Lauderdale, and Fort Pierce.
Great. That's awesome. And it also, too, it's the customer service, because I think following up, a lot of times when patients get referred for treatment, or even they're going to go to a neurologist, they're going to go to an orthopedic surgeon, neurosurgeon, whoever they might go to, certain offices follow up with those patients if they miss an appointment. And we have very few no-shows with Windsor because they do a great job on following up with patients, confirming them on the schedule. And again, they're actually not sponsoring this podcast, but I think they do a great job. And I think
you.
Jen does a great job. So I'm not getting anything in return, but I think it's important to have a imaging center that is very patient friendly and has great customer service and follows up and follows through with patients, assessing their needs and making sure that they're comfortable and making sure that they get in, because sometimes life happens and we miss an appointment. So those things are very important. That's
Thank
like
you.
working with your company.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head on something. It's a team approach. Like when people think that they just come to the lawyer, they're like, oh, the lawyer's just going to do this. No, it's going to be all parts of it. It's going to be the treating doctor. It's going to be the MRI center. It's going to be any other diagnostics or specialists. And when you have a great team in place, that makes sure that that client is getting to where they need to be, the times they need to be, and we're getting the documentation that we need, because you've heard it 1,000 times. Documentation. And from a lawyer's perspective, especially when you go to trial, having the documentation done well, not 4 or 5 re-edits or changes or typos. Let me tell you, insurance companies make a big deal out of what would seem like a little thing to you or I, but they'll point out, oh, this was the wrong date of birth. And when you're dealing with great professionals, you don't have to worry about those things. And you can push forward and say, look, they had the best team in play, and there's no vulnerabilities. There's no weaknesses in the case.
Right. So some of the things you mentioned about insurance companies scrutinizing, or the defense on the other side, let's say the person that hit your client, there have been a lot of changes recently in Florida landscape with personal injury, with some insurance changes. So let's go into that just a little bit, because you're an expert in this area. So I think documentation, before we start, is really important always, but now I think it's even more important, right?
Yeah, we saw a massive change in 2023. Now, the insurance industry called it tort reform, but what it really was an opportunity for insurance companies to increase their profits. I'm not going to go on and on and on because I could talk hours about this, but ultimately citizens' rights were eroded. I'll give you one quick example. In the state of Florida, now, if there's an accident where it's a yellow light, red light issue, happens all the time. Sidewalk crossing, I thought I had the right of way, etc. Before, you would have comparative negligence. So if somebody was 60% at fault, the other person was at 40% at fault, you could get a recovery. Well, they changed it and said, nope. If somebody is 50.01% at fault, they recover nothing.
Oh, wow.
And the reason for that is it took out massive amounts of claims, which made it more profitable for insurance companies. Another big thing that happened was, under the old law, if somebody wanted to battle an insurance company, they were able to hire a lawyer. That lawyer could fight for them. And at the end of the case, when the insurance company lost at trial, that insurance company had to pay the individual's legal fees. Because if not, who can afford to fight a multi-billion-dollar company? But that law changed in 2023. Now somebody needs to hire a lawyer. They have to hire a lawyer out of pocket. And could you imagine suing Progressive out of pocket? No. So they then wiped out hundreds of thousands of claims because people just don't have the money to litigate against insurance companies.
They can out-lawyer anybody.
They can outspend, out-lawyer, and outlast all but the most profitable, well-connected, deep-pocketed corporations. I can tell you that. I've litigated 20 years against them, and they have no problem spending $2 or $3 million defending a single code.
Wow. That's insane. So what do you do if you do get a client and it happens to be that they were at fault? It's at like the 51%, but you believe there's injuries there.
Sure. So, well, we can believe that there's injuries there.
Yeah.
We then have to attack the fault. We have to go after the liability. Look, I grew up from upstate New York. I was a kid that grew up welfare poor, kind of on the downside of things, and I always got a little bit of fight in me. So if you come to me and I'm going to believe in your story, I'm going to fight. And if we go to the mattresses and it doesn't have a positive outcome for the client, and we invested all our time and we did that on a contingency fee basis, and I don't get paid, I'm okay with that.
Right.
Because people need to know that they're going to have somebody that will fight and not let these insurance companies just take advantage of them. And people can be their own best advocates by documenting things, by seeking legal representation immediately after the accident, seeking medical attention immediately after the accident. Like Doc said, doing a pain diary. These are all things people need to know, but they're not going to unless someone tells them.
Right.
Because they don't live in that world every day like we do.
Yeah. Wow. So if people are out there now listening, watching, what are some tips or advice you'd give somebody of things they need to do? And then we'll get into the things not to do, but what they should definitely do after an accident for themselves or a loved one.
Sure. And I talk about this all the time on my social media content, probably till people get tired of hearing about it. But when you're involved in an accident, first thing you need to do is stop, breathe, assess the situation. Are you safe? Okay, you're safe. Now you need to make sure that you're going to call the police to get an official police report. We've all heard that scenario. Don't worry about it. Why involve the insurance companies? We don't need to do this. Yes, you do. Because really, if you're not on a police report, an insurance company can claim you were not involved in the accident. So that's something that's very important for people to know. You then have to document the scene. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, we all have one of these. Pictures are free. Taking somebody's picture of someone's license, very important. Picture of their license plate, important. Taking a picture of their insurance card, important. Don't rely on that citizen aid or that police officer to get it right. I just had a case literally where they wrote down the wrong insurance company, and it took us a month to run and hunt down the correct insurance company. Because again, they're there, they got a lot on their mind too, they're human beings. Double check. Take 1,000 pictures, take 200 videos.
Right.
And then immediately after that, contact an attorney. Give me a call. I'm available 24 hours a day. Anybody who knows me knows how much I work, and I always pick up my phone. But it's super important to get legal representation immediately, even if you're not sure if you're going to pursue a claim. Because all of those things you don't do are going to close those doors if you do need to pursue a claim. You know, as you know, a lot of times the pain and those injuries don't manifest immediately on the scene. You're full of, you've got a bunch of adrenaline flowing, you're nervous, you're all of those things. And then a day later, you can't get out of bed by a seemingly minor crash. Happens all the time. So it's super important that you get that medical attention immediately, document, get that legal advice, get that pain diary started, and make sure that you do not sign anything from the insurance company. Whatever they're asking you to sign is not in your favor.
Okay. So if somebody's in an accident and let's say they're not sure and they do call you, a personal injury attorney, how much does it cost?
That's a really good question. And I really can't express this enough. All personal injury attorneys work on what's called the contingency fee basis. And I'll break that down real quick. What that means is a lawyer does not get paid up front. They get a portion of your recovery if they get a recovery. If they don't recover anything for you, you owe the lawyer nothing. That is dictated by the Florida bar. The rules are very, very clear on that. That's not something that maybe it's this way, maybe it's not. No. Every contingency fee agreement is dictated by the Florida bar, and it says that very, very clearly, that the lawyer will only recover a portion of the personal injury recovery benefits. So in our office, when we help people with their auto repair, we don't recover any of that money. All of that's taken care of. We take care of that for free for them. So people often think that they need money to hire a lawyer, but in a personal injury case, slip and fall case, if they're injured due to negligent security, all of those cases fall under that contingency fee basis umbrella.
Okay, that's great. That's great to know because a lot of people might not know and they might hesitate to call because they feel it's going to cost them a lot of money and they might not have extra money to call to speak with an attorney.
And also, I was going to say they might even feel that their insurance rates might go up if they call an attorney and report this accident.
And that's something that we need to touch on real quick
Right.
too. Kind of just quick backtrack on the contingency basis. Consultations are free. Attorneys sit day in and day out with people to evaluate their cases and give them a very frank opinion on whether they have a likelihood of success. Now, that's a very good point that you made, Jen, about, oh my God, my rates are going to go up. In the state of Florida, if you are involved in an accident and it is not your fault, statutorily, the insurance companies cannot raise your rates. Now, if you get into an accident and it's your fault, well, that's going to be a little bit of a gray area. I don't necessarily trust Allstate and their accident forgiveness, but that's what they may advertise. But if it is your fault, it is possible your rates are going to go up.
Right.
But if you are a victim and you're injured due to the negligence of someone else, your rates aren't going up.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. So, what are some things you absolutely should not do if you've been injured in an accident? And I know I have some things I'm going to run by you, but I want to hear some of the things that you think that would really be detrimental. I mean, of course, I'll just speak to some medical related topics, but I'd like to hear first from you, Mike.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the perspective of what's going to absolutely kill your legal case. Number one, running around and telling a police officer or anyone that's listening, oh, I'm not hurt, I'm fine. Just like we talked about. At the scene, you've got that adrenaline pumping, the nerves are going. Kind of keep your opinions to yourself. Not getting that information I talked about. Really, really bad idea. If an insurance company comes to you and knocks on your door and says, hey, I'm looking at your car, it doesn't look like there's much damage, why don't we give you $1,000 for your trouble? Well, with that $1,000 is going to come a release, and you are releasing all of your rights to take action against the person that caused the accident and their insurance company. So that's going to kill you. Another big thing that we got to be really aware of, guys, I love my social media.
I was going to say, don't post on social.
Don't post on social media. If you are in an accident, seek legal counsel, and I'm sure they're all going to tell you it's a good idea to make your social media private. People are allowed to continue to live their lives. They truly are. But remember, the insurance industry is going to take one snapshot and blow that picture of you joking around or wrestling around with your kid and blow that up to a jury and say, see, look at them. They're fine. They're on the beach. They went for a walk. Look at them. They're unloading groceries.
Yeah.
We all know life goes on and doesn't stop, but please be careful with the social media.
Yeah. From a healthcare standpoint or health provider standpoint, I should say, the worst thing somebody could do is just shrug off if they're having a little bit of pain and go and play basketball or go out and run and resume normal activity without resting. If they are exhibiting any kind of symptoms, I always recommend going and getting seen by a healthcare professional, either their chiropractor, urgent care, the hospital if it's bad enough and you need to, because that's going to be important. Your health comes first, and the person has to make sure that they're not seriously injured, where delaying injury could mean more permanent injury and more severe injury. Right. I remember, this was a long time ago, and I forgot her name right now, but Liam Neeson, the actor, his wife had been skiing many, many years ago in a ski resort. And this was before helmets were more, I guess, recommended for everyone. And she fell and hit her head. And she didn't think it was a serious injury. Unfortunately, she went back to the hotel and went to bed. And later, she passed because of a brain bleed. So sometimes even a minor injury that might seem minor, it's just good to get seen and checked it out, especially if you hit your head or you have a rapid movement of your head going back and forth.
And I'll tell you, in our office, we're not medical professionals at all, but that's one of the things we do a semi-medical screening. We ask about those head injuries. Did you hit your head? Was it? And it's not just hitting your head on the steering wheel. Did you hit the back of the headrest because you got shot forward and kicked back? And we all know, we've all heard CTE, right, from the NFL. And I think Jen can probably speak more to this, the amazing technology that they're coming out with now.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah.
To identify, and we're finding out that more and more people have these brain injuries, these concussions, where they're not hitting their head on the steering wheel. They're not smashing their head on the window, but it's these impacts that are causing their brain to bounce around. And I'll leave all the medical stuff to you, but I know that over at Windsor, the machines that they have, I've seen some of the scans.
Yeah,
they're incredible.
Yeah, we're doing the brain DTIs now.
Yeah, so that's a specialized type
It's
of
basically a
MRI.
more enhanced MRI of the brain.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So people, if they have certain type of testing to show those injuries, it's just, if somebody has that head injury, it's good knowing that a place like yours, you're able to get those studies done and performed. And there's SWI protocol and DTI as well. So those are excellent to do when medically necessary. And like you said before, I've seen it. It doesn't necessarily have to be your head directly hitting something. It could be a rapid shaking where your brain is inside the skull and bounces back and forth, and that can cause the concussion or TBI, traumatic brain injury.
Right.
Just that force alone. So there's a misperception that you have to always hit your head on a hard object, and if you don't, well, then you can't have a concussion. Well, they've shown that not to be the case, actually.
Speaking of brain injuries, you're doing stuff now in the office, right?
Yeah, we do. In our office, we do some screenings. We do something called impact test, which is a functional test that helps to assess memory, reaction times, things of that matter. Because sometimes a concussion, a patient might go to a hospital, or they might even have an MRI that has no findings. So, but they could still have an injury. So there are some other tests you can do to see if they have a more functional related injury that might not be detected on MRI or CT scan. So that is one test that we do. We also do some other exam type tests, checking for balance, checking eye movement, cranial nerves that are in the head. So we do a screening for that. And if we suspect at all anything more serious, we will always refer out. And unfortunately, we've had to do that in cases. So, and we're prepared to, one, identify, and then two, and treat. And if it's not something we treat, we send them out right away. It's important for anybody that you go to have the maturity and the knowledge and the background to know what they can handle and to be able to refer out.
It's that team approach, though, too.
Yeah, exactly. And I've worked with so many different doctors, so I'm comfortable in doing that. What do you see in the future in personal injury in the state of Florida? Anything new on the horizons coming?
I see the insurance companies defending more vigorously with methods that they haven't previously done. We touched a little bit about the social media stuff. I think that you're going to see, with the advent of AI, the insurance companies attacking medical records more vigorously because they can scan through 2,000 pages of medical records, have the AI pull out what is seemingly an inconsistency or a repetitive acknowledgement by a patient. And then again, they're going to take it up on a board, they're going to blow it up, and they're going to go, see, this person circled that their pain level was a 6, 7 times in a row. Now, we all know that patients have good days and bad days, but from a legal perspective, we're going to see the insurance companies use every bit of technology that they can. We're going to see them starting to spread their network of investigations out. I mean, I'm seeing it today where our clients' neighbors are getting emails, random generated emails from AI, from the insurance companies. Hey, by the way, just checking in on your neighbor.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
my
it's
God.
scary stuff. So I think that to push back on that is more important than ever, to have a team approach with the medical professionals, legal, diagnostic, and just making sure that there's that representation right from the beginning, and that you're building your case for trial right from the beginning. And that's kind of what I do, and that's how I approach it. I assume every case is going to trial. I assume that there's going to be a defense attorney with 30 years of experience giving somebody who's never sat and been questioned a really hard time on the stand. So, you have to start to prepare your clients right from the beginning. Pain journals, pain diaries, explaining to the doctors good days, bad days, all of that is so, so important. So that's what I see on the forefront. And it just means that we all have to continue to elevate our game. Changes in medicine, advancements in medicine, advancement in diagnostics, using that combined with legal to really protect people's rights and get the people that have been injured due to no negligence of their own, the treatment and then the compensation they deserve.
Right. This has been awesome. If you have been injured in an accident, you're not sure if it's your fault or not, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to get care, because your health is the priority. And you don't want your life to be totally upended. A accident, an injury can cost your job. It can cost your home. It can cost so many things to be totally upended in your life. Don't let that happen. Reach out. You're not alone. So, Michael, if people want to reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you?
I'm really, really easy to get a hold of. Whether it's on social media, you'll see me post a lot. Our Instagram is Law Firm Florida. If you need to reach me, and my 1-800 number, it's 833-MIKE 24/7. You can look me on my website. It's a little harder. It's FischettiLawGroup.com. So that's why I recommend the Instagram. But I promise you, if you need me, I will be there 24 hours a day. I meet clients all the time. I've got stories of people calling me at 3 a.m, and I'm already walking into the office, and we're sending a tow truck to help them, or sending an Uber to get them home, and then helping them get to the urgent care. So we're very readily available for anybody if they need us.
Great. And Jen Nestler,
Hey.
first podcast.
know.
Awesome.
Yay.
That was
Killed it.
great. You killed it. You did.
Thank you.
So if someone wants to get a hold of you and want to learn more about Windsor Imaging, and I know you do some other marketing as well, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
So how can they get in touch with you?
Instagram.
Okay.
Your MRI girl.
Okay. Awesome.
That's plain and simple.
Great. So we're getting ready to end the show right now. And at the end of the show, we have a tradition where we give out to the guests a superhero tumbler. Because to us, that symbolizes comeback. That symbolizes rebounding and resilience and so forth. So, Michael Fischetti, of these tumblers, we're going to bring these to you right now. Which tumbler speaks out to you the most?
Let me take a look what we got here. Wow, these are great.
Yeah, we got a lot of ones. We got Batman, with Captain America, Superman.
All the childhood heroes. I'm gonna probably go with Thor. I'm gonna go with Thor. I love the fact that it's got the resilience, the confidence. I wish if I was in the gym more, I would look more like Thor. But I just love that pillar of strength, and that's what we try to provide for our clients, and what I try to provide for my family. So,
And it's like a giant gavel.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that, right? Oh my
Boom,
God.
justice. Justice is served.
Justice is served.
Okay,
I like
great.
it.
I love it. And for Jen, we also have a tumbler for you as well.
Oh, I think
Which one speaks to you?
I think I'm clearly going to take Wonder Woman. I'm compassionate.
You sure? Not Hulk?
No, I'm compassionate, and I would say I'm courageous. I came on this podcast with an hour notice, and here I am, my very first podcast.
Yes, awesome.
And
This has been great.
Thank
And
you so
again,
much for having me.
everyone out there, we appreciate you tuning in. And like I say all the time, like, follow, subscribe. We'll see you on the other side. Let's get strong together.
yeah. Bye.